Hi there everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I've got another meal in a jar recipe for you. This is a just add water recipe and it is for beef and bean burritos. This comes to you from my mom's recipe box. We lived in the Dallas area in the 1970s and we had some friends that moved to Dallas from Mexico and they shared their recipes with us. That right there that you see in the jar, that is the mix for the homemade tortillas. I'll show you how I put that together in just a minute. Whether or not you make the homemade tortillas, you should definitely try the recipe for the beef and bean burrito filling because it's absolutely wonderful. Just so delicious. You can put it on lots of things, not just flour tortillas, but also chips or tostadas. I'll show you that in just a minute. All right, let's make the filling first. I'm starting with a 24-ounce jar. This makes about 4 servings of the filling for us, for our family. Now, if you make this and decide, hey, I would like some more filling for my family, you could definitely put this in a quart-sized jar and increase the amount of beef and cheese and beans that you put in here. It's very important to use the instant refried beans. All right, as far as the green chilies go, I usually use Thrive Life green chilies, but today I'm going to try the Lighthouse brand of jalapenos. I had a subscriber tell me about those and I ordered them and now I'm excited to try them. Spoiler alert, they are spicier than the regular green chilies that I'm used to and I loved them. These spices are fantastic in here. You need every single one of them. If you don't have that Goya adobo, just substitute garlic powder. All right, so this is my beef and bean filling jar, and this is something that you could keep stored on your pantry shelf. If you try this recipe and you like this filling, then I suggest you make 2 or 3 of these jars at a time and keep them on your shelf, and that way you'll have them when you need them. Let me show you how I make the tortilla mix. Now, most of the time, I do not make homemade tortillas myself. Reason being, I live in South Texas, and I can find homemade tortillas at virtually every restaurant and bakery around here. I do think that learning how to make a homemade tortilla or some sort of a flatbread or a wrap or a pita, something like that, I think that is actually a really good skill to have. So I'm going to show you how to do it. And like I said, whether or not you decide to, that's up to you. But I want to show you how it can be done. Maybe you could save this recipe for a rainy day. I mean, right now we don't have any trouble getting flour tortillas at the grocery store. But you never know what can happen in the future. There might come a time where you can't really get what you'd like to get at the store. So this is a worthy skill, okay? So what you want to do is scoop the flour into the measuring cup. That way you don't get too much flour in there. And then this is all going to go into a medium-sized bowl. It's flour, baking powder, salt, and fat. That's all that is in tortillas. And then of course, when you're ready to make them, you add water. But this is the recipe that comes straight from Mexico, from our friends that lived in Mexico, and it is a wonderful flour tortilla recipe. I'm using lard because that's what I grew up using. I have had subscribers ask me, can I use shortening? And yes, you can use shortening. You could use butter flavor shortening. You could probably use butter in this as well. Use what you have. But I like using lard. I think it gives the best result. All right, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to just do this with your hands. You do not have to do it with your hands. You could put this in a food processor. You could use a fork. You could use a pastry blender. But I'm going to show you, you don't have to have any of that special equipment. You can do this with your hands, okay? And basically what you want to do is, it's clean hands, of course, and then get your hands in there and basically you squeeze the lard into the flour and then you rub it. So it's a squeezing motion and a rubbing motion. And it's combining the flour mix with the fat. That's just the best way to get a good distribution of fat throughout that flour. And it's really kind of fun to do. It didn't take me but maybe 1 minute to do that. That is your flour tortilla mixture. That is what you could put on your pantry shelf and store in a jar for probably up to 3 or 4 months. I don't like to keep it much longer than that just because the lard can go kind of funny on you. So anyway, so that's what you would store on your pantry shelf. Okay, and just FYI, if you decide to make the homemade flour tortillas, this whole recipe is going to take you about an hour. When you're ready to make this, what you'll want to do is actually start with the filling. You'll empty that jar into a large skillet and you need to add hot water to it. So this is hot tap water. You'll give that a stir, and all we're doing here is giving this a head start because it's just going to sit there, okay? I didn't even turn on the heat. I just want it to sit there and soak for a little while because that freeze-dried beef and those beans, they will soak up a lot of that hot water, and that rehydration process will start and it'll be super yummy. Now, let me show you how to put together the tortilla dough. Get out a medium-sized bowl, empty the contents of your jar into that bowl, and you need really hot water. You're going to add somewhere between 1/2 cup and 2/3 of a cup of very hot tap water. The reason you need hot water is because you're wanting to melt the lard. You want to melt the fat into the flour mixture. So start with a spoon as you are mixing it in because the water is going to be really good and hot. Start with a spoon and see where you are. I've got 2/3 of a cup of water right there. I didn't end up adding all of it. I started adding about 1/2 cup, and then I added a tablespoon at a time after that. And I didn't use the whole thing. I probably had a tablespoon or 2 left over of that hot water that just I didn't need in there. What you're looking for in your dough is a consistency that is quite tacky. You want something kind of sticky, okay? Not so sticky that it's sticking to your hands, but you need it to be really kind of a wet dough. Not too wet, but definitely not dry. And you just add water until you get to that consistency. Now this is my least favorite part, okay? It's the kneading. I do not enjoy kneading, but you do need to knead it. Just put on a couple of songs and knead through 2 songs and you'll be good. You need to knead it for about 10 minutes. It is absolutely amazing the difference in texture your dough will have after just 10 minutes of kneading. It's no longer going to be sticky. Put it back in that bowl and you need to keep that moist. So I covered it with a damp paper towel, a pretty wet paper towel. You could use a kitchen cloth, whatever you prefer. It needs to rest for 15 minutes. So we kneaded it for 10 and now it needs to rest for 15. So turn your attention back over to the skillet. That has just been sitting there. There's not been any heat on at all. It was just hot water that I poured into our beef and bean mixture. But see how different the consistency is already? That beef and those beans, they have really soaked up a lot of that water and they are good and rehydrated at this point. Now you can turn your heat to probably medium or so, maybe medium low. You want to bring that to a low boil, okay? And then once it comes to a boil, give it a stir and crank your heat all the way down to low, okay? And you're just going to let that simmer on low for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And if you'll remember, that's the amount of time that our tortilla dough needed to rest anyway. So that works out perfectly. Leave that on low And turn your attention back over to your tortilla dough. And after that resting period, all you're doing there really is you're letting your gluten relax. If your gluten is not relaxed, then your tortillas won't roll out properly. They'll just contract on you and they just won't roll out. So it needs to rest for 15 minutes or so, 15 or 20 minutes. Now's the time to go ahead and pinch off your tortilla balls. I pinched off little dough balls about the size of golf balls, somewhere between a walnut and a golf ball, and I'm making 8 tortillas. Now, if you want larger tortillas, you can, just make 6. That's one of the benefits of making your own tortillas is that you can customize the size you need. So if you decide to make the kind of burritos where you put the filling in, you tuck in the sides, and then you roll them up and pan fry them, you might want to make bigger tortillas and only make 6 of them. But definitely cover them up. You need to keep the dough moist. I need to get out a little bit of extra flour, and I need to flour my rolling pin and flour my surface. And please do go ahead and make fun of my circles because, yeah, they're not exactly very good circles, but something about the shape of a circle is what you want. I do the little flip slap method to get rid of the extra flour on the outside of the tortilla. And that's about the thickness you're looking for, about the thickness of a coin, something like that. And I drape them over the side of a bowl. Now you do have to go back and forth a little bit here. Just check on your filling. Remember, you've got some cheese that is melted in there and it will tend to stick on you. So make sure you just give it a little bit of attention every once in a while and stir it from the bottom. Just keep it on low. All right, back to the tortillas. I like to flour both sides just lightly and then start to roll them out. And you'll just continue that process until all 8 tortillas are rolled out. Okay, this is the consistency I'm looking for with my beef and bean filling. It's nice and thick. It's not too thick. It will still tighten up a little bit on you as it cools. So if it gets too thick, add some more water here. But that's the consistency I'm looking for. I forgot to tell you, go ahead and taste it. Mine was perfect. But I turned off the heat, put on a lid, I covered it, and I just let it sit on that hot burner while I cooked my tortillas. You need to heat a nonstick surface. I'm using my griddle here because that is the only nonstick surface in my home. I don't have any nonstick skillets. Anyway, I heated that to, it's supposed to be 500. Mine only went to 400, but heat it as high as it'll go to probably what is equivalent to medium high. And you need to cook your tortillas for about 1 minute per side. This is what you're looking for. You need to see bubbles happening within the first probably 15 to 20 seconds of putting it on that hot surface. If you don't see bubbles emerge, then you need to preheat longer. Your surface is not hot enough, okay? Look for those bubbles, make sure they appear. And then you need to cook this for about 1 minute per side. Now, since I had a bigger surface, I went ahead and put 2 on at a time. Now, a real cook could probably flip that with just bare hands, but anyway, I got my spatula and cheated. So you just continue to cook those tortillas until all of them are finished. And when you take them off the griddle, they need to go into some sort of a container that will keep them warm and a little bit moist. So I've got a tortilla warmer, and in the bottom of that, I've got that wet paper towel. I left that in there, and I put a wet paper towel on the top as well. Okay, you want to keep them moist and warm. If you don't have a tortilla warmer, use a bowl and a wet kitchen towel or a damp kitchen towel. Now this is the texture you want in your tortillas. This is what you're looking for, okay? They're foldable. I can fold these and stuff these with burrito filling and they're not going to tear on me, okay? If you cook them too long, they will be too brittle and they'll break. They're still going to taste good, but that's the texture you're looking for in tortillas. All right, and this is what the filling looks like after the heat has been off and it's just been sitting there for a while. I mean, it's still good and hot, but wow, it's a lot thicker, isn't it? And this is how we like to eat our beef and bean burritos, okay? I just grab a tortilla and fill it with the filling, and that's it. I mean, that's what we like to do. You could put all sorts of things in that. You could put more cheese. I like to add some toppings to the top of it. I like to kind of roll it up and add some toppings on the top, but you could stuff it and eat it like a soft taco. I'm going to show you something that I have done in a past video. I folded in the sides, rolled up the burrito, and then pan fried it in some avocado oil. If you want the crunchy exterior of a burrito, it's almost like a chimichanga. And then I topped it with my homemade queso. That right there, that picture is from a video that I made that's called What I Eat in a Week, I think. I will link that below. Here's another idea for you if you want to make the tortillas and want a different filling. I put some chicken in there and some peppers and onions and made a quesadilla. So those tortillas are good in lots of different things. I'll link that video below. Also, if you're looking for just a naturally gluten-free option, you could put this on top of some tortilla chips. It makes fantastic nachos. This beef and bean filling is so good. It's got a ton of flavor from all the spices we put in there, and you can adjust your heat level up or down depending on how many jalapenos you put in there. You could put these under the broiler and melt that cheese if you want to, but I do like to top it with lettuce and tomatoes or salsa. That's avocado and sour cream and some fresh cilantro. But isn't it beautiful? I also have a recipe for homemade queso, which is a spicy cheese dip. I will link that below for you. Homemade queso is fantastic on here. Aren't those tortillas just gorgeous? Oh, and that filling. It is fantastic, guys. This is just such good Tex-Mex food right here. Now this is how I end up eating these most of the time is I use a fork and a knife, and I just try to get like a little bit of everything on there, a little bit of sour cream, a little bit of lettuce, a little bit of salsa, and that just makes the perfect bite. It's so good. It's funny, while I was filming this part of the video, I had a hard time stopping eating in order to take the pictures. It was so good and I was really hungry at that point. Okay, so if you don't want to put the toppings on the top, you could stuff them into the tortilla. And I just wanted to show you, you can eat it like that because these tortillas are sturdy enough to hold all of those things inside as well. You can eat it like a soft taco. However you choose to eat it, please eat it because it's so good. I was feeding 4 people with this recipe and we each got full after about a burrito and a half. My husband had 2 burritos and that was enough for him. So I think this will feed 4 people. Okay guys, thank y'all so much for watching. I will include the full recipe and my shopping link in the description box below. I always do that. I hope my videos are doing a good job of showing you the possibilities of the kinds of food that you can make with your food stores. I love cooking with freeze-dried food, and I have a feeling you do too, or else you wouldn't be here on my channel. So I hope my recipes are an inspiration to you. We have some fantastic food at Thrive Life. And if you haven't tried it before, but you're interested in it, please do click on my shopping link. I would get a commission off of any purchase you make, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, guys, I pray God's blessings on you today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And until next time, y'all take care and keep thriving.